Some people are watching, Joe, but they're not.
All
They're
right.
embarrassed. They're embarrassed to admit it publicly.
I guess that we get that often. So, hey, this is a new platform for us. So we're just trying out Blab to see kind of what that's going to look like for us and whether or not we want to continue doing stuff like this. You know, we've had a chance to kind of podcast and talk together for a while. But this is just something new for us. So how you doing, Tone?
I'm excited. This is great, man. It's been a week and a half of vacation, so that's pretty nice. Got a lot of family time, a lot of running around, all that good stuff. But yeah, I'm pretty pumped for tomorrow. This notion of going back and almost kind of like fresh start, beginning of the school year almost. I love it. I'm excited. How about you?
I'm good. You know, I think the thing about the holiday break is, you know, you still have to. I still go in and do a little work, but it's just not nearly as crazy. And you know what was really cool this week? Like on Wednesday was the first day this year that we've gotten snow or like enough snow.
Oh, okay.
And usually, like when I know that there's going to be 6 to 10 inches of snow, I get a little crazy because I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to have to get up at 4:00 and try to figure out whether or not we're having school or not. But with no school, it was really nice to just kind of sit back and think, hey, you know what? We can just kind of hang out and not worry about whether or not it's going to be a snow day, which was awesome because it's like since I've been here, it's been 5 years. It's the first time that I can remember like having snow and thinking I don't have to worry about what happens in the morning. So I was going to send out a tweet to everybody saying that school is canceled for tomorrow, but I didn't want to get too sassy about it, I guess.
I do remember when we were in Delaware a few weeks ago. I remember you had to wake up super early just to kind of keep track of what was going on in Fall Creek.
Yeah.
So that
it was rain. It was rain.
I remember
that was a rain day. Yeah, I'm like, oh my goodness, that's just not where we want to be too. So,
yeah. Well, we have not had any of that. I can assure you that it has been like I don't even know, like a tropical feel in New York City for the most part in terms of our weather. Today is probably the coldest day or the last couple of days, but it has been crazy warm. It is like California hot, like Amy Fadege California hot. That's how hot it is.
See, she just joined too. She must have a really busy evening.
She's so busy.
So the Warriors must not be playing tonight. So that's kind of the way it works.
Haven't they lost like a couple in a row or something?
That's fine.
It's pretty sad. It's a sad state of affairs.
So one of the things that we want to do with this platform is really like think about how could we continue the conversations that we had on Brand Ed and what we were talking about in terms of telling the story of schools. But is there like another level to that and what we can talk about, not only in terms of telling the story of what great things are happening in schools, but how to build that culture that really establishes the opportunity to tell those great stories.
Right. And I think the attractive thing about this platform, and we've seen a bunch of our PLN friends engage in this, you know, like Todd and Adam, and I just participated in a Blab with Joe Mazza and Gwen Pescatore, and, you know, just the platform lends itself to this kind of fluid, ongoing conversation that like allows for, I think, multiple voices, which is great, as opposed to just, you know, one voice at a time. So kind of very much aligned to what we talk about, where the story in a school or a district has to be collective. I feel like this experience allows the whole school story conversation to be more collective, right? And to be crowdsourced in a more powerful, relevant, and dynamic way. So this is pretty cool. I'm excited about that.
One of the things that I think we were missing with you know, having the podcast that we did prior to this was just that it was done in the middle of the day, and you know, we had to, you know, do the whole scheduling piece of it. And we'd like to, if this is something that we're going to do in the future, it'd be really nice to say, okay, so we're going to be on at this time and this time, and then people can kind of jump in and jump out as they please. One thing that I think for us, you know, going over 20 minutes of conversation, like I can't handle you for 20 minutes. There's no way that I can talk to you for more than 20 minutes at a time and not feel like I got to go to counseling after. So, you know, I think they'll be nice and short and sweet, but at the same time, we can get a lot done. Why are you shaking your head? You know it's true, right? Like you feel the same way though, too.
Okay? Well, I'm not going to even say the words because you're just so mean and abusive.
For the love of God, seriously, you're like we've been on this for like 4 minutes, and all of a sudden you're going to go with this whole hate stuff again. Come on, man. It's true. We can't. Okay. All right. Enough. It took you 9 hours to get ready for this thing, and this is what you come out with.
Really? I got a haircut, and I washed it, and I got it did.
That's right. I haven't showered in a week, so that's not a problem. It's good. You know, it's great. But in all seriousness, you know, I think that the power is really having the conversation, but at the same time, knowing when the conversation needs to end. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like you can kind of come in and come out and that kind of thing. And hopefully we'll have you know, just a continued dialogue as we move on. But we really want to talk about what's going on in schools and what's great about what's going on in schools, but also what can we do to help people kind of get to that next step of where they're at.
Right.
And when we talk to people about what's great about your school and why are you doing this and why are you doing that, a lot of times what it comes down to is we've got a really great staff or we've got really great kids.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. And I'm glad that happens. At the same time, you having great kids in your school doesn't make my school better, right? So, but you saying that one of the things we do with those great kids is have student engagement through having our kids tweet out things that go on throughout the course of the day, or having having interns or social media interns like Missy Emler, who I know is on here right now.
Hi, Missy.
In Schulzberg. So those are the things that we're looking for. It's great that we have great people. I mean, that's really important. And I think that's the most important. Let's make sure we get past that. But how can we help people with specific things to get better at what they do in schools so they can help their staff?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and that you touch on the idea of kids, right, and empowering kids' voices. And we had talked about this when we were in Delaware recently, and this idea that even as young as kindergarten, you can have kids being a part of that storytelling process. So we have a teacher at Kaniag who, her name is Mandy. She's a wonderful kindergarten teacher. She has her kids. One of the jobs is photographer of the week, and they go around during the week and they take pictures. And at some point during the week, multiple times during the week, they sit with their teacher and they caption those pictures and tweet them out. And that kind of scales up as the kids get older. In fourth grade, the kids, might be handed the iPad and really encouraged to share the stories as they're seeing them. And I think there's something powerful about amplifying student voice in a way that's different than just hearing kids, right? Like we can all physically hear them, but really empowering them to see that their voice transcends the walls of the school, right? It goes beyond that. And that's the great thing about social media. And the networks that we've created and the PLN that we're a part of, right? So people really encourage that and people might respond. And like Brad Gustafson and John Fritzky and we did this whole Stu Connect chat, and it was so great to see. And you had people participating.
Yeah, we were on there. Yeah, we were on there. Yep.
You had kids participating in a conversation, right? And they were so psyched about it. They went home and they talked about it. I had emails from parents who were like, oh my God, she came home today talking about this chat. And so I think we're figuring out ways, and this is another platform that can accomplish that, to kind of flatten the walls even more and share those stories and those ideas and those resources, because they're there and they're all of ours, right, collectively. So share them.
Right. Yeah, and if we're always better together. We talk about that a lot. Like we're totally better together. But from a specific standpoint, just allowing kids to have access to those platforms is really important. Now, what do you say to guys? What do you say to people that say, well, I can't do that because my principal won't allow that, or my superintendent won't allow me to do that? How can people empower just their classroom, or how can people empower what's going on within their space, even though there's like a hierarchy of whether or not things can be done?
Well, I mean, let's think of like a basic way. And again, for me, it's so elementary because that's my experience. But like, even if you get kids on Google, right? Google Apps for Education, and they take a writing piece that they normally would have typed up to publish, and suddenly you put it in a Google Doc and you have them share that link with their classmates, right? Suddenly they're getting feedback from 20 other kids, 24 other kids, however many kids are in the class. Just that minor change in practice, right? So you're not going beyond the classroom walls necessarily, although you could do it. You could share it with other kids maybe on the grade level, but just giving them the opportunity to have an audience broader than the one, right? Because usually the conversations are teacher-student. Let's make it student-student and multiple students on one. So I think that's one way to at least give them access to what that feels like, even if you can't necessarily use Twitter, or you can't use Facebook, or you can't use Instagram in your district. So
yeah, that's a great point, because it's really about the audience in that perspective, like what's authentic. And if just the idea that your work is going to more people than just the teacher, even if it's just within the context of your classroom, but if your work is going out beyond just the one person, I think that starts the conversation about what it can look like beyond that. And, but I think there's a way, I think, we're in this, me being a superintendent and you being a principal, I think that there's always this opportunity that, we all have people that we answer to. Like I answer to a board, you answer to a superintendent who answers to a board. Right. Yeah. And I think in those people, even if they're not like jumping in 2 feet on board with what you want to do, there's a reason for that. And the majority of the time, it's because they're scared of what they think is going to happen.
Yep.
And finding a way to help those people along. Like when we talked to our board about it originally, it was like, yes, you know what? Something's going to happen. Something bad is going to happen. Somebody's going to say something stupid on social media, and we're going to have to deal with that. But
Right.
If we wait because we think something's going to happen, are we really robbing these kids of that authentic audience that's outside of this place?
And you know what it
that
is?
helps.
Yeah, it does. And we have to realize that our kids are already in those spaces anyway. And so the fact that we're like putting, roadblocks ahead of them in school is like goes against the grain of what they're experiencing in their personal lives.
Right.
Paul is actively using Instagram. I wish school was using it as well, so that they can really model for him the appropriate ways to use it and kind of demystify it. Like, it's not this like, ooh, so you're on Instagram and what do you do? And having those conversations with kids just by being present in that space. And that's something we talk about all the time as well. And I think it's a simple thing, but it's reframing it and not looking at it as a problem, but as an opportunity, right? A solution to a problem, in fact, because the problem is that we are isolated. We are bound by the four walls of our school, but here's a way to go beyond that. And so look at this as an opportunity. Social media, Blab, whatever, Google Hangouts, Skypes. There's so many ways to kind of take our kids beyond that context. And I think we need to have those conversations and step away from that deficit model. Like, what's going to go wrong? Okay, things are going to go wrong. Like
it's going to, yeah, absolutely.
And as long as you face them, you're going to be okay.
Right. And as we think about like how to influence those people, because it's important to be able to find a way that we can get student voice to the world. Okay. So if we agree on that, and we know that there are people out there that don't really buy into that whole process, we have to figure out a way to make it advantageous for them. Okay. Yes. So if you're going to talk to your principal, or you're going to talk to your superintendent, or you're going to talk to your school board about why you should be doing this, you have to make it advantageous for them. Yeah. Like, from a superintendent standpoint, I am not, immune to this. We do not lack ego. Okay. That as an organization, like as a job, we do not lack ego. Okay. Right. So finding a way that you can get into that piece of it and saying, okay, and like I said, I am not immune to that, Tony. I think we both know that. Right? But being able to say, how is this going to benefit like my perspective? Because I have to answer to somebody too. Yeah. So being able to be part of that piece is really, really, really important. And if you can find the niche, if you can find the in for those people and trying to figure out like, how can I make it, a positive experience for them, they're going to back you. They will definitely back you.
Yes. And I think that's the key thing, is that it is something that benefits the collective, right? And the community and the school and the district. It's not about you and I. I mean, so you and I have taken this opportunity to even go further, right? To maybe give a kid access to something that they wouldn't necessarily have on their own. But that's what we're all looking for. And I think if nothing else, like the one thing that stands out for me about the PLN experience, right, to kind of link it back to our own learning, is how much I've learned in 3 or 4 years on Twitter. I mean, ideas that I never would have even thought of. And I mean, you and I are part of an email exchange where we share newsletters and ideas and emails that we, as different leaders across the country, share with our staff. I never would have had access to that. I mean, my colleagues in the district.
It's a pretty suspect group. Let's be serious. I saw the names and I'm like, I can pretty much get rid of this whole crew. Come on, man.
And I was crowned the king today. No,
well, of course you were. It wasn't in self-proclamation, Tony. My gosh, it's like, here's your glitter crown. Come on, be serious, man. But you're right. You're totally right. Like, connecting to those people, we wouldn't have access to that. Well, what if kids had access to that? Why don't kids have access to this all the time? And being able to say, you know what, I'm going to connect with kids in New York right now and talk to them about stuff that's going on there. Or, when you're talking about from a social studies curriculum perspective of things happening that happen across the country, what does it feel like from a different place? That's really important.
Yeah, no, I think that's like the perfect entry point, right? Like, you think about any other curriculum area, social studies, that's a perfect reason to argue why kids should be doing mystery Skypes, or why kids should be tweeting, or whatever. And I think of like Star Saxteen, she's a high school teacher, English teacher here in New York. She does so much back channeling with her kids on Twitter, and they have their hashtag, and they're all part of this conversation. Because as much as our kids socialize, they don't necessarily always socialize about what they're learning, right? And they don't necessarily need to. But here's a way to do that. And here's a way to hold them accountable, but not in like an accountable kind of way, but in a way that continues the conversation beyond the context of school. And I think that's really important as well.
Yep. Well, because it creates a connection. And I think that when it comes down to what we're talking about, you're going to have a ton of content that's given out, but at the same time, your learning is going to come because it's a connection. Somebody said on Twitter the other day that I thought was really great, and I can't remember who it was. So if you remember who it is, please make sure we give them the credit for it, because it wasn't me. It was the whole notion of personalized learning is really, it's like an oxymoron, because all learning is personal. And I didn't say that. I don't remember who did. Let's find out who did. We'll tweet it out later. But it's really, that's really important, because everything that we do, if you're going to learn, it's going to be in a personal perspective and what works for you. So I think that's really important to understand.
And what we sometimes, forget is that there's this like disconnect. The things that we do that we're passionate about, ways that we learn, are almost disconnected from the practices that we embed in our school. And I'm guilty of it as an adjunct professor at the college level. I'll sit and talk about how terrible it is to lecture, and then I'll talk for 2 hours, right? And so we have to be really conscious of that, because that's another thing, I've learned from the PLN, is that there's so many different ways to learn, and so many different ways to teach, and so many different ways to plan, whatever. And so if I don't take those ideas and enact them in some way, then what's the point? And so we give our kids that as well. Like one of my first grade, I know, Joe, one of our first grade classes at Kenny Egg is going to be Skyping with one of your first grade classes. Mm-hmm. That's a great conversation for our kids to have. Like, our first graders live in a nice suburban little community on Long Island. What is it compared to, like, for life in Fall Creek, or vice versa?
You'd hope to hear. I mean, come on. It's just like a slice of heaven over here. Are you kidding me? Come on. It's Fall Creek.
I didn't hear you. There was cricket.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. I totally agree. But if we can connect, the more people we can connect, the better. So some of the tools that we're using, obviously, clearly are our Twitter and Skype and everything like that. But what other kind of tools as you look into the 2016, as you look into the new year, what kind of tools are you looking forward to kind of utilizing with your kids and students? Or if anybody has anything in the on the chat window, what kind of things are you utilizing that would be really helpful for everybody as they think about what 2016 looks like? We're down to about 5 minutes, Tony, just so you know.
Yeah, sure. I'm just going to say the one thing that I'm excited about, and it's what you introduced me to, is Audio Boom, and kind of recording some mini podcasts with our kids and figuring out where we're going to host those, but just having those conversations. And again, the 2 questions that you taught me to ask kids when I walk in a room. So what are you doing and why are you doing it? And those conversations have really unfolded it and powerfully and enlightening for me. So Audio Boom is definitely something I'm excited to explore.
I don't want to do it. I don't want to give Fadezi credit for that, but she taught it to me too. I can't. Yeah, that's not a good. I'm never going to hear the end of that. Like that, there's probably an email that already went out saying that we mentioned Audio Boom. Yeah. So that was Fadezi. Nice. So yeah, congratulations, Amy. That was great. But it is a great tool. That's a fantastic tool. Yeah. And I think just the idea of getting the voice out there is really, really important. So that's awesome. And I think that's something that we can all learn from each other in terms of what the voice looks like. So, so I'm looking forward to utilizing the podcast piece, not only for us, but also for kids, and creating podcasts with them too, because I think that's really, I've had a great time having conversations with them, but really, like, when it comes down to it and what it really means, like, if we can get their voice in the area, I think it's really cool. So it's going to be a fun deal. So this is a pretty cool platform. We should probably try this again at some point. I think,
maybe we could do it, like every, week or 2 or something. We'll see. People probably get tired of us.
Yeah. Yes. People are tired of us right now. I think like we were really planning on my mom and your mom coming into this thing and just kind of figuring it out from there. But
my mom was embarrassed to be associated with me. So. So she
told me that. I wasn't going to say anything. I can't believe she said that out lound. It's I didn't even know that I spoke Greek, but I knew that, man. I was right away. I'm like, I know what you're talking about. I totally get that.
We have to be completely transparent. What everyone here in the chat bar doesn't realize is that my family is like obsessed with Joe Sanfilippo. And every time they're like, when is Joe coming? Is Joe coming to New York? When is he coming to New York? I'm like, please do not encourage the psychoticness that I have to deal with on a regular basis. But no, I definitely
gotta move there, man. Maybe I'm moving there. Who knows? You just never know.
My superintendent, come have fun with that.
Good, he's doing great. I like him. He's good dude. Very good dude. So I can't manage you for 20 minutes. Are you kidding me? Like, try to manage you for a school year? You're like, no. I totally asked you about that, Joe. No, you didn't. You didn't ask me. No, I totally asked. Oh, fine. That sounds good. Whatever you need to do.
But let's be clear, for the record. What did I not bring up so far tonight?
I don't like my hair. I'm getting what?
my dissertation.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's finally done. It only took you. I've never met anybody that was on a 9-year plan except for Kurt Reese, who's like on a 12-year plan. But that's fine.
Kurt is like a Jedi, so he gets a pass. It's
if
not
Kurt,
really,
no. If Kurt was a Jedi, he'd be done with his damn dissertation. Let's be serious with that. Let's go. Come on, finish that thing, Reese. Not Dr. Reese. Finish it, Reese.
Dr. Reese will be done soon. And all these people in the chat bar, though, have inspired us a lot. So I think at the very least, for these people, we need to come back and make them laugh one more time at some point in the future.
Just get on this. Just get your face on there. You'll be fine, I think, right? That's good.
who else can join? Why is no one else trying to join the chat, though? Why is no one else trying to get on this thing?
I understand. It doesn't matter at this point. I think we're just plug and play at this point. All right, we got to get out of here.
We do have to go.
So let's go see if we can figure out a way. Now, not only are we going to try to get this onto an audio podcast at some point, but also, we'll do this more often. Maybe if we could do a weekly deal, that'd be pretty cool and bring people on. Next time when we do this, we're going to figure out how to bring people into the conversation and have that, have that coming through. So that would be great.
So it's not just us talking.
People are so sick of us. Get out of here. All right, man. I hope you have a great start to 2016.
Same.
And hi to everybody at Kaniag, and we'll talk soon, man.
Hello to the crickets, and thanks to everyone who tuned in. This is pretty cool. Thank you.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. All right. Have a good day, man. Take care, buddy.